When you strip away the noise and the bright lights, it's just the game you loved as a kid.
Mikey, we need to talk about Caitlin Clark. Let's you and me talk about Caitlin Clark since you refuse to talk about Caitlin Clark.
There are moments in sports that change the rulebook. And then there are moments that tear the rulebook to shreds and write a whole new one. In the 1980s, a rookie from North Carolina and a sneaker company from Oregon did just that. They created a blueprint, the Michael Jordan blueprint. It wasn't just about selling shoes. It was about selling a story, a legend, a myth. It was audacious, it was fast. And it turned an athlete into a global deity. For 40 years, that blueprint has been the holy grail of sports marketing. Now, in 2024, another once-in-a-generation talent has arrived. A player so magnetic, so dominant that the blueprint is practically begging to be used again. But here's the twist. The company that invented the playbook, the one that built an empire on it, seems to have completely forgotten how it works. And in their silence, another company has stepped out of the shadows, picked up that legendary blueprint, and is executing it with a level of perfection that is simply breathtaking. This isn't just a story about a signature shoe or a new basketball. This is a story about legacy, about a corporate giant's crisis of confidence, and about how the most obvious superstar in the world is at the center of a marketing civil war. Let's start with the company that's getting it right. Wilson, the official basketball of the WNBA, just dropped a commercial for Caitlin Clark's new signature collection. And it's not what you'd expect. In an era of flashy cuts, loud music, and celebrity cameos, Wilson went in the complete opposite direction. The ad is quiet, it's intimate, it's just Caitlin, a basketball, and the sound of a bouncing ball on an empty court. It's a love letter to the game itself, to the solitary work that happens when the cameras are off and the arenas are empty. It's a piece of poetry that says everything without screaming anything. It understands the core of her appeal. When you strip away all the noise, all the hype, all the debate, it's just the game, and that's where the story gets truly historic. Caitlin Clark just became only the second basketball player in history to receive a full signature collection from Wilson. The only other athlete to ever receive that honor, a guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Let that sink in. Wilson, a company with over a century of history in sports, just placed Caitlin Clark on the same pedestal as the undisputed GOAT. This isn't a marketing campaign. This is a coronation. They're not just acknowledging her talent. They are carving her into the Mount Rushmore of the sport before she's even finished her rookie season. That is the Jordan blueprint in action. Recognize generational greatness and act with conviction. But they didn't just slap her name on a ball and call it a day. They collaborated with her to create an entire line of basketballs that are basically mini autobiographies. This is where Wilson is putting on an absolute masterclass in storytelling. Take the Aspire ball. At first glance, it's a sleek, minimal gray. But take it out into the sunlight and suddenly, hidden messages glow in a fiery red. Phrases like dream big and keep going. And the most powerful one, you're going to be amazing because you are amazing. That's not a line from a marketing meeting. That's what Caitlin tells her teammate Aaliyah Boston before every single game. They literally embedded a piece of her personal ritual into the product using UV-activated ink. Then there's the Oasis ball. It's dipped in her favorite light blue. But look closer at one of the panels. It's a bird's eye view of a golf course fairway. A subtle nod to her favorite off-court hobby. It connects the person to the player, but the crown jewel has to be the Embrace ball. This is the official game-ready Evo NXT model because of league rules. They couldn't get too crazy with the design, but Wilson's innovation is in the details. Tucked around the air hole is a subtle sunburst pattern. That pattern isn't random. It's a data visualization, a decibel meter, created from the sound waves of real crowd noise recorded during one of her Indiana Fever home games. They literally pressed the energy of her fans into the texture of the ball she plays with. This isn't just product design, it's artistry. It's a level of detail and respect that is almost unheard of, which brings us to the giant sneaker-shaped elephant in the room. If Wilson, a basketball company, can execute a plan this brilliant, this respectful, and this historic, where on earth is Nike, the brand that is basketball culture? The brand that has Caitlin Clark under a reported $28 million contract. Their silence isn't just quiet, it's deafening. We've seen a few generic t-shirts and hoodies, the kind of merch that feels like it was designed in an afternoon. But the signature shoe, the centerpiece of any modern athlete's brand, is nowhere to be found. This isn't just a recent issue, the warning signs have been flashing for months. Remember that historic exhibition game in Iowa where Caitlin's homecoming sold out a 15,000-seat football stadium and pulled in 1.3 million TV viewers? It was a monumental event for her, for Iowa, and for women's basketball. Every one of her sponsors From Gatorade to State Farm was celebrating the moment, and from Nike, crickets, not a tweet. Not an Instagram story, nothing. The silence was so loud and so awkward that Caitlyn's own boyfriend reposted a tweet calling them out, asking if they even had internet. When an athlete's inner circle starts publicly questioning their biggest sponsor, you know something is deeply wrong. So, what is going on? For a long time, it was just speculation. But recently, a former Nike marketing insider named Jordan Rogers offered a glimpse behind the curtain. And his theory is as maddening as it is believable. He suggests that Nike is intentionally slow-playing Caitlin Clark's launch. Why? To avoid overshadowing the release of A'ja Wilson's new signature shoe, the Aeon. Rogers pointed out the timing. A'ja's shoe was announced just days after Caitlin's huge homecoming game. The theory is that Nike went silent on Caitlin to give A'ja, the reigning MVP and a cornerstone of their WNBA roster, her moment in the sun without being eclipsed by the supernova. That is Caitlin Clark. If this is true, it represents a complete breakdown of the very philosophy that made Nike a titan. Nike didn't become Nike by playing it safe. They didn't wait to see if Michael Jordan was ready. They strapped a rocket to his back in year one and lit the fuse. They built their brand on an ethos of just do it, of betting big on singular, transcendent talents, but now, it seems they're caught in a corporate crisis of confidence. They're so afraid of upsetting their existing roster or navigating the complex politics of the league that they're paralyzing their single biggest asset. They're trying to manage everyone's feelings instead of doing what they do best, identifying a hero, and telling their story to the world. And the cost of this hesitation is staggering. Every single metric shows that Caitlin Clark is a walking economic stimulus package. Her jersey became the top-selling draft pick jersey in history across all sports within hours. WNBA viewership is up over 100% on every network. Teams playing against the Indiana Fever are seeing their attendance numbers triple and quadruple, moving games to bigger arenas just to meet demand. When she was recently out with an injury, tickets for a Fever game against the Chicago Sky were reportedly selling for as low as $3. That's not just the Caitlin effect. That's proof of a Caitlin-dependent economy. People are desperate to be a part of this movement. And Nike is sitting on the world's biggest pile of cash registers, acting like they're not sure how to turn them on. This hesitation from Nike seems to be mirroring a wider, more uncomfortable dynamic playing out across the league. There's an undeniable attempt to manufacture a rivalry for Caitlin, primarily with Chicago Sky's Angel Reese. The media and even some sponsors have pushed this narrative hard. And look, rivalries are the lifeblood of sports, but they have to be organic. They have to be earned on the court. While Reebok moved quickly to give Angel a signature shoe deal, the narrative has started to backfire. Instead of clips of epic on-court battles, the internet has been flooded with viral moments of a different kind: missed layups and fundamentally shaky plays. This isn't about tearing down one player, it's about a flawed strategy. When you try to force a rivalry and the performance doesn't match the marketing push, it just exposes the machinery. It feels inauthentic and the audience can always smell inauthenticity. The legendary sports analyst Stephen A. Smith diagnosed this perfectly. He's talked for months about a palpable sense of resentment within some WNBA circles towards Caitlin. Not necessarily towards her as a person, but towards the tidal wave of attention she's brought with her. He argues that some players feel like she's getting a level of shine that they feel they deserved long ago. It's a complex and human emotion, but he points out the dangerous conclusion: it feels like some within the league, and by extension, its partners like Nike, would almost rather miss out on this golden opportunity than see one person get so much of the spotlight. They're so focused on making sure everyone gets a piece of the pie that they're shrinking the size of the whole pie in the process. This isn't just a marketing fumble anymore, it's a potential billion-dollar blind spot. Projections estimate that Caitlin Clark could generate $1 billion in value for the WNBA. $1 billion. This is Tiger Woods joining the PGA Tour. This is a seismic event that elevates everyone: the league, the players, the sponsors, the networks. To deliberately slow that train down out of an abundance of caution or internal politics isn't just bad business, it's a failure of vision. And that brings us back to Wilson. While Nike is tangled in a web of its own making, Wilson is operating with the kind of clarity and confidence that Nike used to own. They are not overthinking it, they see a generational star, and they are using their craft, their technology, and their platform to celebrate her in the most authentic way possible. They are following the Jordan blueprint to the letter. Tell the story of the athlete's love for the game, innovate around their identity, and treat their legacy with the respect it deserves. The result is pure, unadulterated basketball joy. No Drama, no politics, just greatness. So, what does it all mean? This situation has become a fascinating test case for the future of sports marketing. It asks a powerful question: what happens when the biggest, most powerful brand in the world, the one that wrote the rules on creating icons, forgets its own formula? The answer is that it leaves the door wide open. It creates a space for a smarter, more agile, and more authentic brand to step in and show them how it's done. Wilson didn't hesitate. They saw the moment, they understood the player, and they delivered a masterpiece. They proved that you don't need to overcomplicate genius, you just need to amplify it. Meanwhile, Nike, the brand that once told us to just do it, is stuck in a state of should we, maybe, eventually do it? They're holding a winning lottery ticket, terrified to cash it in. The ball is, quite literally, in their court. And if they don't figure out how to play soon, they risk being remembered not as the company that built the last legend, but as the one that fumbled the next one. What do you think is really going on behind the scenes at Nike? Is it a strategic blunder, or is there a bigger plan we're not seeing? Let me know your theories in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story, do me a favor and hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping the world of sports. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.